now reports that voting in several polling stations is yet to begin in Uasin Gishu County. Let's continue speaking to Joy Brenda Masinde, who is a lawyer, joining us here in studio. So a lot is happening across board. Let's focus a little bit on Jubilee nominations, because 19 counties are taking part in those nominations today. And this is the second day of the nominations. Let's begin with yesterday. In terms of preparation, in terms of learning from what happened on last week, Friday, what can you say in terms of the Jubilee nominations?
What we witnessed yesterday was actually a positive step forward. One of the things that was very refreshing was how much information kept flowing out of Jubilee House. We kept seeing the chairman of the election board time and time again giving updates, using very conciliatory terms like the secretariat belongs to the aspirants, let them come and give us their concerns. We had, of course, the session of the choppers up in the air and down on the ground in 1 hour flat. And those things have been able to boost the confidence of people on the ground that, unlike last week when it was just total chaos and shambles, this week there is hope of a better process. Now, what we have seen from yesterday to today is that in most areas where they've conducted the Jubilee nominations, the process has gone on fairly smoothly. We've had right now from Gatundu, the tone also of the aspirants. Somebody has read the Riot Act somewhere. Everybody is saying the same thing. Leave us alone, we will do this properly. Even, you'd expect aspirants to be a bit adversarial. Right. But it looks like people are reading from the same script. So it looks like this week we might actually have better, not just better organized for Jubilee, also better organized overall, because it looks like the embarrassment of last week spurred them into action. Right. And now we are seeing a process that is more above board. We are not hearing any incidents of people not having enough ballot papers. So it looks like they're staying on top of things this time around. So hopefully it will produce a credible result.
Right. I mean, it's just the few allegations of stuffed ballot papers and people being found with ballot papers, something that we expect the disciplinary committee to address. But moving back to ODM and especially the situation in Migori, we're now seeing the returning officers saying that in about an hour's time, the final results will be given. But here we have an aggrieved party, gubernatorial aspirant Ochilo Ayako, who has walked away confident that he has served an order to the returning officer to nullify those results. And we've also heard from Okoth Obado, is the incumbent governor. They're saying that Ochilo Ayako did not follow the right procedures within the party before obtaining that order. So let's begin with that order. Was it from the court? Was it from the ODM tribunal?
From what we had from Honorable Ochilo, he got it from the ODM appeals board. Right. So if that's the case, then he did not go to the High Court, as the governor seems to be under the impression that he went to the High Court. But I found it very interesting that the incumbent, the governor and the women rep are sitting together, and both of them are like, let's get this over and done with already. Because there's an axis there that has formed. There's a collaboration that has formed. And therefore, Ochilo seems to be very much the outsider in this entire process. Now, if there is indeed a nullification and it has been served or not served, I would expect Orange House to be able to confirm that position, to say, you know what, we have had this and that, and from our position at the Secretariat, this is what we hold as the correct position. Because all this tallying is being tallied to be brought back to Orange House so that the final declarations can be made. So I guess that is something that needs time. Let's give it time. Let's see where the rest of the information will come from. Because right now, the only information we have is from the aspirant himself, which at this point seems to be not credible. Even what we had in the morning, that 3 constituencies were not going to give us results. Now we hear Suna East is back on board. It's only 2 that will not give us. If I was looking at it now from a practical point of view, if I've got 10 and I'm missing 2, I have got more than enough to make an educated guess as to what the people
have to say. But is it really upon the returning officer to make that call? We have 8 constituencies. We don't have results from 2 of them. I'm going to announce the final winner based on 6 constituencies. Is that upon the returning officer?
It is, and that's why when the returning officers resigned, then even if there was any process that had gone on, nobody else could make the declaration and say, in this constituency, this is what we had. So if the county returning officer decides, you know what, I have enough information, let us do probabilities, let us do percentages, and let us make this an educated guess, then he has that authority to do that. If the party appeal process backs him up, then the decision will stand.
All right. Let's talk about how big a task the ODM has in terms of dispute resolution, because this is something that needs to be resolved. Ochilo Ayako says they will not be taking part in another repeat nomination should it be announced that it should have a repeat. And Agnes Zani, earlier on speaking to Kisa Wandera, says that in the dispute resolution tribunal, they've been able to resolve about 75% of the dispute. But how huge a task are they looking at now, especially in these strongholds, ODM strongholds?
It's massive. You see what happened with Otoma and Ojamong. When they did not manage that dispute properly, it ended up with a very strong candidate who's going to run against their candidate.
As an independent candidate.
As an independent. Now, at the end of the day, what would have been an ODM consolidated vote is going to be split. And in all likelihood, Ford Kenya now might be able to take, because it's still in a Ford Kenya zone. So you might find that another NASA affiliate party might be able to actually clinch the seat rather than ODM because of what has gone on between in the primaries. That is why I think Ms. Zani is concentrating on talking it out, because I heard her using the term, we are trying to resolve by talking to the parties. We realize some of these things is a matter of talking it out.
Right.
Now, when they use that approach, what you have is consensus. And consensus is good because it keeps the party united. It manages the fallout and the embarrassment. And at the end of the day, you find that the presidential tally is not affected by what has happened in the lower elections.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, what we are expecting to see moving forward, I think, will be a lot less adversarial. Even the situation in Migori, I foresee a negotiated outcome out of this.
Are we likely to have such popular aggrieved candidates that we end up having very popular independent candidates in this year's general election?
It has happened once or twice, because once Ongoro went to Amani and Paul Otuoma went to become an independent, and the window remains for people to become an independent, then I think there's some strong candidates who will do that. And it's one of those things that I thank the drafters of the law for giving people a window. Because if there was absolutely no escape for this pressure cooker situation, we might have found violence being an option. But people saying, go independent, and the candidate saying, that's what you want, then let me go independent. The situation is diffused.
All right. I will be keeping an eye on that. Joy Brenda Masinde is a political analyst and a High Court advocate speaking to us here in studio, dissecting the situation on this Super Sunday as the political parties head to the ballot for the primaries. 19 counties taking part in the Jubilee nominations, while ODM has its nominations in its strongholds of Kisumu and Siaya, with the nominations in Nairobi having been cancelled this morning. We have been following up on this situation, and we'll be keeping you live and updated here in studio. This is KTN News, where you get the whole story.